What is up, YouTube? It's your boy, Alter Ego, welcoming you to the 5th episode of Masterclass. In today's episode, we're going to be covering bridges, which include the 2 bridges at Adamance and the 2 bridges at Vow. Let's get started. First up, we have the Adamance Longbridge. This bridge has a durability level of 1, and once the durability drops to 0, the bridge will collapse. The durability will drop depending on how many players are standing on the bridge, how long they've been on the bridge, and how much they weigh. However, weight doesn't play a factor until you're carrying over 11 pounds. If you weigh 11 pounds or less, the bridge will use this formula to calculate how much its durability drops. Using the formula, this bridge will break if 1 player stands on it for 33.33 seconds. With 2 players, this bridge will break after 8.3 seconds, and with 3 players, the bridge will break after 3.7 seconds. It'll take you about 6.5 seconds to full sprint across the bridge, so you can cross this bridge with 2 players if you both sprint across at the same time, but you're safer if you cross 1 at a time. The bridge regenerates 20% of its health every second, so once you're off the bridge, it'll fully regenerate after 5 seconds. Here's a visual of the Adamance Longbridge collider. The durability will not drop unless a player is standing somewhere inside the collider. This means that even if you're jumping, you're still inside the collider box, so durability is still dropping when you're in the air. As you can see, the collider doesn't cover the very ends of the bridge, which means you can stand in those areas without the bridge ever breaking. If you weigh over 11 pounds, then this formula will also be used to calculate how much durability drops. You can cross the bridge with a maximum of 19 pounds, but in order to do so, you'll need to be at a full sprint the moment you enter the collider, which means you'll want to start sprinting just before stepping onto the bridge. Up to 35 pounds, you have a couple options. Your first option is to sprint across the bridge, drop your items halfway, then go back and pick them up. Leaving items on the bridge will not reduce its durability. Just remember that if the bridge breaks with items on it, those items will be floating and you won't be able to obtain them. Your second option is to juggle your items across, and your third option, which is the best option, is to just jump off early. The best way to do this is to sprint all the way through, and as soon as your stamina bar disappears, jump diagonally to the left. You should land somewhere on this hill without the bridge breaking. If you're carrying any more than 35 pounds, you have 2 options. You can drop down below the bridge and walk up this hill, which is good, but if you weigh a lot, this hill can be tricky and you're still exposed to any enemies on the right. Your best option is to drop down below the bridge and walk up this hill right behind the hut. There's a very specific spot you'll want to use to walk up this hill. As you can see, there are 4 crevices that all meet at one point. You'll want to start walking up the left side of the hill, then walk right over that center point to get up. Sometimes it's a little hard getting past this point, in which case you can just jump over it. This hill should be your go-to because 1, you're much safer from enemies, and 2, you can walk up with infinite amount of weight very consistently. This is also a great alternative route if the bridge ever breaks. As an easy rule set to follow, you can cross the bridge up to 19 pounds. Up to 35 pounds, jump off early, and anything over 35 pounds, use the hill behind the hut. The only enemy that has an effect on the bridge are forest giants. They'll drop durability by 0.167 every second, meaning they'll break the bridge in about 5.9 seconds. Just remember that if you're standing on the bridge with a forest giant, the bridge will break faster. No other enemies will have any effect on the bridge or its durability. On the opposite side of the Longbridge, you'll find Adamance's Shortbridge, which is separated into 2 parts with a gap in between. Unlike the Longbridge, this bridge does not factor in time or weight. You can stand on either side of the bridge for as long as you'd like with as much weight as you'd like. This bridge is not only useful for bringing back loot, but also very useful for getting away from enemies since they cannot jump across the gap. The absolute maximum weight I was able to jump across this gap was with 84 pounds. Any more than 84 pounds and you will not make this jump. The part of the bridge that's closer to the ship will never break no matter what. However, the side that's closer to fire exit can break. Like I said before, time and weight do not matter. What does matter is how many times you've jumped on the bridge. You can safely jump on this bridge for a total of 3 times. The 4th time you jump on this bridge, it will collapse the moment you land. It's very important to remember that the 2nd time you jump on this bridge, you'll hear a creaking sound indicating that you can safely jump on the bridge one more time. Falling from this height will deal 50 damage, but as long as you're sprinting forward, you should land on this part of the hill and take no damage. Now, once the bridge collapses, you can still jump across using this metal beam. This gap is a little harder to get across, but still doable up to 38 pounds. If you're any more than 38 pounds, you will not make this jump. This beam will never break, so you can use this to bring back loot as many times as you need. The key to making these jumps is to keep your momentum. You don't want to jump onto one part of the bridge, stop, then jump onto the next part. You want to start sprinting before you reach the bridge and sprint all the way through your jump. The jump mechanic in this game is a little weird. In order to maximize distance, you'll want to jump almost when you're falling off. You'll want to sprint to the end of the bridge, and as soon as you start dipping down, that's when you want to jump. It feels like you're gonna fall, but the jump will trigger when you're just slightly off the bridge. A great example of this is jumping across the gap in Belt Room. If you were to jump while you're on the railing, there's no way to make this jump. However, if you jump while you're just slightly off the railing, this will give you just enough distance to make it across. With some practice, you can get this mechanic down pretty easily, and it's something you need to be able to do if you're jumping across the short bridge with a lot of weight. Next up, we have the Vow Longbridge. The Vow Longbridge works the same exact way as the Adamance Longbridge, just with some different values. Up to 11 pounds, the bridge will use this formula to calculate how much its durability drops. One player will cause this bridge to collapse after 50 seconds, 2 players will collapse the bridge after 25 seconds, 3 players after 5.5 seconds, and 4 players after about 3 seconds. It'll take about 4 seconds to full sprint across the bridge, giving you just enough time to cross with 3 players at the same time, but you're much safer with 2 players. Just like the Adamance Bridge, the Vow Longbridge will regenerate 20% of its health every second, so it'll be back at 100% health after 5 seconds. Once you weigh over 11 pounds, the bridge will use this formula to calculate how fast the durability will drop. Here is a visual of the Vow Longbridge collider. As you can see, it doesn't cover the edges of the bridge. For the Adamance Bridge, I said that you want to start sprinting just before getting on the bridge, but for the Vow Longbridge, you'll want to start sprinting the moment you enter the collider. As long as you start sprinting as soon as you enter the collider and you sprint all the way through, you can cross this bridge with up to 104 pounds. 2 players can full sprint across the bridge up to a total of 84 pounds, and 3 players can cross each with up to 11 pounds. And just like the Adamance Bridge, Forest Keepers are the only entity that can collapse the bridge at 5.9 seconds. Just across from the Long Bridge, you'll see Vow's Concrete Bridge, which will never break no matter what. I just wanted to clarify that because it was something I was curious about when I first started playing. Make sure you guys like the video, and I'll see you in the next one.